Snail farming offers an interesting agribusiness opportunity in Africa. West Africa is home to the largest species of land snail in the world. The giant African land snail, Agicina species, is known to grow up to 30 cm in length and can be found in dense tropical rainforests across the region of West Africa.
Snails are very dogged animals and they have been there from time. We have different species that will do well in the Middle Belt and the southern part of Nigeria. Up north, you might have some challenges. So down here in Abuja, in our snail pen, we have the giant African land snails. It is very easy to maintain. It is not a technical type of agriculture or agribusiness.
Snail has a huge demand in the Nigerian market for its unique taste and nutrition value. Snail meat contains a high amount of protein, iron, calcium, magnesium, vitamin A, and is very low in fats. Over the years, the loss of forest and explosion of populations across the world has affected the supply of snails from the forest to meet demands. Snails otherwise picked from the forest deep in the night now need to be farmed in small to large scales to keep up with the huge demands from homes, restaurants, modern eateries, and high-end hotels. Snail breeders and farmers now produce snails in backyards, small farms, and large farms for profits. Unlike many livestock businesses, snail farming is a low-risk business that has low startup expenses. However, it requires a lot of patience to be successful. Snail farming can be run from small backyards or in a piece of land lying waste around your house. Snails are hermaphrodites. They have both male and female sexual organs. They get to mate easily throughout the year. They multiply really fast, laying up to 100 eggs at a time. A snail can also lay eggs several times a year. This high reproduction rate has made snails a pest in many regions of the world. However, their fast reproductive ability can give very high returns on investment.
The reproductive rate is very high. Each snail has the ability to lay because it has the male and female gametes infused in it. That's how God made them. And I asked myself why, and I got the answer over time. The answer simply is because they don't have feet to run away from their predators. So the only way they can stay without being extinct is to multiply in mass. So the average snail, the African land snail, giant land snail, can lay between 50 to 150 snail eggs in a laying season. So you could do a rough sample and say maybe half of the eggs die and half reach maturity. So you can imagine the way they multiply.
Starting a snail farm requires experience and patience. Some important factors to consider include moisturized environment. Snails are very easily dehydrated. Dryness occurs in snails when moisture loss happens, and this can lead to hibernation. Snails require moist conditions with a high relative humidity. The presence of wind increases the rate of moisture loss in snails. It is therefore important to select a location that guarantees moisture for the snails when establishing a farm. For this reason, a mist sprinkler will be preferred to a water dripping system. The presence of trees in a snail house can make a good environment for snail farming, as the trees can act as windbreakers.
For starters, the soil should be rich dark loam soil, and you should have vegetation with big leaf or big leaves to create some kind of shade and coolness in the cage. You can use vegetation like dwarf bananas, you can use cocoyam, and you can plant items like water leaf in the cage, even though the snails will eat the water leaf. But the other items, the other plants I called, will provide shade for the snails. So with this, you should understand that it is a do-it-yourself business and it is easy to run.
Suitable soil. Soil is the main habitat of snail. It is expected that the soil will contain some of the chemical requirements and composition for successful snail breeding. Suitable soil must have enough calcium or be fortified with calcium. This is because The shell of snails are mainly calcium, and this is derived from the soil. The soil should also have the ability to retain enough moisture for the snails to thrive. The soil must neither be acidic, waterlogged, or too dry. A loamy soil with low water holding capacity is perfect for snail farming.
People, you don't have to invest so much on the housing. You can use locally sourced material. You can use bamboo. You can use a couple of blocks, and you have your structure. It mustn't be a gigantic structure. For starters, you can start small and see how it goes. Then you now get a bigger structure when you now understand the mechanism, the working mechanism.
Snailary or snail house. A good snailary will keep the snails productive. There are several kinds of snaileries. It is important that you consider the development stage of the snails. Are the snails newly hatched, young, or mature? Younger snails require comfortable housing that are properly sealed from wind. The housing must be escape-proof. Snails can be constructed with decay-resistant wood. These include a covered box, a constructed cupboard, patch of concrete protected ground like the foundation of a house. Make a concrete pen with soil depth of about 10 inches or dig a trench and cover it with screen or wire all around to prevent the snails from escaping for larger and commercial production. These must be sheltered from the wind. Extensive methods include more elaborate housing like the mini paddock system and free-range housing. Vegetable farms and plantain farms can also be combined with a snail farm to minimize costs. Generally, snails love to stay in cold and dark places. However, the snails must be free from harmful humidity levels. For regulating the temperature, fresh leaves that are regularly wet can be used.
Every other insect, reptile, or animal out there would want to come into your snail pen because it is cool, it is conducive, there is food. So while building your snail pen, ensure that it is insect proof, it is rodent proof, and it is safe.
Lizards, snakes, rats, chickens are some other harmful predators. Wire is a great solution for keeping those animals away. You also have to prevent some harmful smaller ones like termites and ants. Small mesh nets are used to prevent the access of flies to your snails. Flies can cause significant loss to your investment if left unchecked. Flies lay eggs in the snails, and when they hatch, they eat up your snails from the inside. There are not many diseases identified in snail, but fungus and bacterial diseases can be spread by contact, especially in overcrowded pens.
Now, your biggest challenge as a snail farmer will be maybe during the dry season, because snails tend to hibernate during the dry season. Is what they do in the open, but in captivity, when you are rearing them, you do not allow them to hibernate. How do you prevent them from hibernating? By creating a system where you can water them. So you can create a sprinkler system, or you can water them with watering cans, maybe twice daily or once daily, just to keep the place moist, because they require moisture. They thrive best in moist environment. So you discover that over time, during the dry season, if you do not carry out these practices well, if you do not feed well, if you do not keep the place moist, you discover that the snails tend to hibernate. And what is hibernation? That is a period in the snail's life where they feel there is scarcity of food, so they shut down their systems to conserve energy and wait till the environment is favorable. Maybe during the rainy seasons, then they unseal themselves and come out to